There's a battle raging all around us, but it's completely invisible. It's a slow-motion war that can bring down the mightiest mountains one tiny little crack at a time. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on this incredible force, weathering, the silent process that literally shapes our world.
We tend to think of rocks as, well, rock solid, right? They're symbols of permanence, something that's solid, unchanging, basically eternal. But what if I told you that's not the whole story? Not even close. The truth is, rocks are not forever. And the reason for their slow, inevitable decay is exactly what we're diving into today.
This incredible force is called weathering. And here's the absolute key thing you need to remember. It's all about breaking things down on the spot. It's not about moving the pieces around. That comes later. This is the first shot fired in the geological war that literally carves out the world we see.
So let's start with the most direct kind of attack, what I like to call the brute force physical assault on our rock.
Physical weathering, sometimes called mechanical weathering, is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's like nature's hammer, just smashing rocks into smaller and smaller bits and pieces, like gravel, scree, and eventually sand. And the crucial part here? The chemical makeup of those smaller pieces is identical to the original rock. Nothing's changed on the inside. Okay, so one of the most powerful physical weapons out there is just plain old water and cold. It's called freeze-thaw action. It's so simple but so powerful. First, you get water seeping into these tiny cracks in a rock. Then, when the temperature drops, that water freezes, and get this, it expands by about 9%. That expansion acts just like a wedge, exerting this unbelievable pressure and forcing the crack wider. You repeat that cycle over and over, winter after winter, and boom! Even a huge boulder will eventually split right in two.
But ice is definitely not the only player in the game. In really hot climates, you get this thing called exfoliation, where rocks literally peel off in layers like an onion. And think about this, wind and water can act like relentless sandpaper, just grinding surfaces down through what we call abrasion. Even salt gets in on the action, forming crystals in cracks and prying rocks apart from the inside out.
All right, so the physical attacks are pretty brutal, but the assault isn't just coming from the outside. Now we're going to look at something, well, a little more sneaky, the chemical takedown.
Yeah, unlike that physical hammer, chemical weathering is a total inside job. It doesn't just smash the rock, it actually changes the rock's very chemical structure. It's breaking it down from the inside out. And this process really loves warm, humid places. The heat and moisture are like catalysts, just supercharging these chemical reactions.
A perfect example of this is something you see all the time, rust. It's called oxidation. When you have minerals with a lot of iron in them and they get exposed to oxygen and water, they literally rust. They turn that classic reddish-brown color and get super weak and brittle. This is exactly why so many canyons and deserts have those stunning red rock colors.
But oxidation is just one of the weapons in nature's chemical arsenal. There's also hydrolysis. That's when water itself reacts with minerals, turning something super hard like feldspar into soft, squishy clay. Then there's carbonation. This one's wild. Rainwater is naturally a little bit acidic, and that weak acid is strong enough to dissolve entire rocks like limestone, carving out these amazing caves and sinkholes over millennia. And sometimes it's even simpler. Minerals just dissolve in water, in a process we call, you guessed it, solution.
Okay, so we've covered the physical assault and the chemical takedown. You might think that's it, right? But there's a third major force in this battle. And this one, well, this one's alive. We're talking about the living attack.
That's right, life itself gets in on the action. This is called biological weathering, and it's done by pretty much everything. We're talking tiny microbes, huge trees, burrowing animals, and yep, you and me.
I mean, have you ever seen a tree root completely buckle a sidework? That's a classic example of root wedging. Or think about burrowing animals, ants, moles, you name it. They're constantly churning up the ground, exposing fresh rock to all those other weathering forces. Even things like moss and fungi produce these weak little acids that slowly but surely eat away at rock surfaces. And of course, let's not forget us. Human activities like mining and construction, we're basically weathering on hyperspeed.
So, we've seen how rocks are just constantly under attack from all sides, physically, chemically, biologically. It sounds like it's all about destruction, right? Just breaking things down. But here's the big twist in the story. What if all this destruction is actually the ultimate creative force? Because here's the most important thing to take away from all this. The breakdown of rock, it's not an end. It's always a beginning. Weathering is, at its core, a profoundly creative process. It transforms the old into something completely new.
Okay, now, before we get into what weathering creates, we have to clear something up. It's super important. People mix up weathering and erosion all the time, but it's actually really simple. Just remember this. Weathering breaks it, erosion takes it. Weathering is the process of breaking rock down, right there, in place.
This table lays it out perfectly. Look at the action. Weathering breaks rocks in place. Erosion moves that broken material. Their agents are different, too. Weathering uses temperature, water, and life. Erosion uses wind, water, and glaciers to do the heavy lifting. So you can see weathering is always step 1 in changing a landscape, and erosion is step 2, the transportation department, basically.
So what are the amazing gifts of this process that seems so destructive? Well, for starters, without weathering, we would have no soil. None. No agriculture, no forests. It's what sculpts all the incredible landscapes we love, from massive canyons to delicate rock arches. It also releases essential minerals from rocks, basically making them available as food for plants. Weathering creates the raw material, the sediment, that erosion then uses to build new landscapes somewhere else. It's the engine of creation for the entire surface of our planet.
So the next time you're outside, I really want you to look around with new eyes. Notice the cracks in the sidewalk, the rust on a metal fence, the moss growing on a stone wall, or just the dirt beneath your feet. Because now you know the story. You're seeing the evidence of this epic, ancient, and still ongoing battle that is shaping our world every single second of every single day. Thanks for exploring it with us.